Spores of the Night Hive. I could still hear their laughter echoing in my mind, a cruel symphony of mockery that had become my haunting soundtrack. "You'll lose your mind, Simon. You're chasing shadows and spores." My mother's voice dripped with disdain, the kind that rang through the kitchen like a knife slicing through meat. My father, arms crossed, had merely nodded, wearing a mask of quiet disapproval that spoke volumes. It was a consensus. I was the disgrace of the Blackman family. I had been a mycologist, a dreamer wrapped in the embrace of decay and life. The moment I reported the aggressive fungal growth in the quarantined forest, everything changed. My colleagues laughed, their faces twisted in disbelief. "Mushroom paranoia!" they would shout after me, their words echoing down the sterile hallways of academia. I was crushed, torn apart by their hostility. They had ousted me, and I had retreated into obscurity, feeding my obsession with the very fungi that had promised to consume everything in its path. Now, years later, I returned to that house of scorn, clutching the evidence of my journey tightly against my chest like a talisman. No longer the disgraced outcast, I was a renowned expert, a pariah turned oracle, burdened with truths that threatened to unravel the fabric of reality itself. The world may have begun to acknowledge the horrors lurking beneath the surface, but my family had yet to experience the weight of my revelations. As I approached the old family home, the sun dipped behind a curtain of clouds, oily and threatening. The air thickened, weighed down by the remnants of my past. I knocked on the door, and my heart thrummed in my chest like a frantic drum. When my mother opened the door, her eyes widened in disbelief. Then came the whispers, the hushed tones of my father and sister behind her, exchanging shocked glances. "What do you want, Simon?" My mother's voice was brittle, laced with disgust. I stepped inside, the familiar scent of mildew and aged wood suffocating me. "I want to show you something," I said, my voice gravelly. Their expressions flickered between curiosity and disdain. They had always seen me as fragile, a mere shadow of the people they had wanted me to be. Today, I was different, hardened by trials they could not comprehend. The living room had remained untouched, a mausoleum of memories. Old photographs littered the surfaces, relics of a family that pretended to care. I could almost feel their derision, lingering like a ghost. "Listen," I said, clearing my throat. "I know you've mocked my work all these years, but I've uncovered something that might change your mind." I opened my bag to reveal vials of dark, viscous liquid spores that shimmered like the night sky. "These are the spores of the Night Hive. They're sentient, and they're hungry," I said, my voice low and grave. "They can invade bodies, consume minds, and create a hive consciousness that is both terrifying and beautiful." My sister scoffed. "You want us to believe this nonsense? You're still obsessed with those stupid mushrooms?" A low rumble echoed. From the shadows of the living room, a thick, creeping darkness emerged. It slithered through the room like a living nightmare, tendrils stretching and wrapping around the furniture. My family gasped, eyes wide with terror, as the spores I had collected began to release an ethereal glow. The very air thickened with a sweet, rotten scent, a noxious perfume that sent an unsettling thrill through me. "See?" I whispered, breathless as I watched the horror unfold. They didn't believe me, but they know now. The Night Hive had come for them, silencing their scorn with its insatiable hunger. My mother stumbled back, her hands clutching her throat as if the very air had turned to poison. "Simon, stop this!" she cried, but her voice was swallowed by the rustling whispers of the dark. "It's too late for that," I said, my heart racing. The pulsating mass of spores expanded, wrapping around my father and sister. trapping them in an embrace of fear. The mocking laughter of my past twisted inside my mind, now tainted with a sense of vindication. As the tendrils entwined them, I felt the weight of their disbelief crashing down. The Night Hive began to whisper its ancient secrets, and I realized then that I was not its master. I was merely a vessel. The knowledge I held was too powerful and too terrible to contain. When the shadows receded, I stood alone in the stillness, the light creeping back into the room. My family lay on the ground, pale and breathless, their eyes wide with the horror of newfound understanding. As I turned to leave, the whispers of the Night Hive echoed in my ears, a haunting reminder of what I had become. I stepped out of the house, a chill creeping up my spine, but the weight of vindication bore down like a crown. I was no longer the disgrace they had once seen. I was a warning, a sentinel of darkness bearing the burden of a chilling truth they could no longer deny.